Today, I will be talking about releasing leaders. The purpose of this lesson is to emphasize the importance of releasing leaders to fully function in ministry rather than simply delegating tasks to them.
God abounds in love and faithfulness.
River runs in love for me, and I will open up my heart and let the healer set me free. I'm happy to be in the truth, and I will gladly lift my hands, and I will always sing of when your love came down. Sing of your love forever. I can 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 sing of your love forever.
Good day, everyone. Today, I will be talking about releasing leaders. The purpose of this lesson is to emphasize the importance of releasing leaders to fully function in ministry rather than simply delegating tasks to them. Delegating tasks to other capable people is important so that the leader is not doing all the work. During the delegation stage of training, you allowed new leader to have responsibility of a limited area of your ministry while you evaluated and guided him. However, you retain control of most areas and were ultimately responsible for the ministry that delegated to him. Many leaders have learned that they can indeed increase their effectiveness as they spend more time training and equipping others for ministry, rather than trying to do it themselves. However, there is another important step in the training process that goes beyond simply delegating work. And this is the step of releasing. It is the next step up from delegating and assumes that the new leader has already proved his faithfulness, potential, and ability. Now, it is time to find his own ministry. When we release new leaders for ministry, we allow them to function fully as leaders without our control, meaning they can make their own decisions and plan their own activities. In other words, releasing leaders means that we allow them to carry on their own ministry. Church planters must release others for ministry. God calls us to disciple and train others. However, the goal should be to see those new leaders leading ministry on their own. The best example of releasing leaders is John the Baptist. Paul also was perhaps the best example who trained and released others for ministry. The New Testament contains a long list of people who traveled with and learned from Paul, and he normally spent very short time at each of the churches he founded. How could Paul spend such short time training leaders and then leave them in charge? Wasn't he worried that they might do something wrong? Certainly, Paul was concerned about this possibility, and indeed, there were problems. The Corinthian church, for example, was a mess, but there were two factors that helped Paul deal with his concerns. First, the priority of reaching nations with the gospel, and the second factor that helped Paul release leaders quickly into ministry was his confidence that the church belongs to the Lord. As church planters or leaders, we are not ultimately responsible for the growth of the church. God might use a number of people to bring the church to maturity. The process of releasing is not as easy as it sounds. Trusting God to work in the lives of the people one lead goes against human nature and poses two serious challenges for any leader. First, fear that the leader will do a good job. Second, fear that the leader will do a bad job. Remember, a secure leader also understands that failure is a necessary part of learning and growing. Let's have, for example, an illustration from parenting. A child learning to walk will fall several times before he at last can walk by himself. When the child falls, the parent picks him up, gives him an encouraging word, and let him try again. He does not yell, "You failed! You really embarrassed me! No more walking for you!" No, 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 no. Failure is not a bad thing. It's okay to fail. You could always learn from your failure. Even Jesus, when he trained the disciples, he often used failure as an occasion for teaching. Now, let's have the principles for releasing. Number one, develop and maintain deep relationships. Releasing is natural when people have established a band of trust. Number two, make sure future leaders continue to own the vision. Number three, don't wait too long to release. The sooner you can put the new leaders in ministry, the sooner they will reach their full potential. Number four, expect mistakes. If there is a room for failure, people are more likely to try new things. When those you have trained make mistakes, they must be reassured that you have confidence in them. Be gracious and patient, using every mistake as a teaching opportunity. Number five, trust God to work through others. And lastly, avoid dependence. Train and release so that the others do not constantly depend on you as leader, because if you do not plan to turn over ministry, then the trainees will depend on you too long. Though Jesus left his followers physically, he assured them beforehand that he would send his spirit. So it is very important to have a continued good relationship and maintain contact with those you have released for inspiration and accountability. That would be all. Thank you and God bless.